Sometimes it's not even that she says, "You just want me for sex." It's that you don't want her to feel that way. You don't want her to feel used or like sex is the only thing you care about. And yet, if you don't understand the wounds and the conditioning that she's carrying, that's exactly how it can feel to her, whether you mean it or not.
You're listening to Love Without Lies, real talk about love, sex, and the truth most people are afraid to say out loud. Let's go.
Every woman carries stories from her past. Times she's trusted a man's words, but maybe his actions didn't line up. Times she gave her heart through sex and then got ghosted. Times she felt pressured to go further than she wanted. Even if you've never done any of those things to your woman, her nervous system doesn't separate you from that experience. It just remembers the pattern: sex equals risk. And then society piles on messages like, men only want one thing. And we have religious shame that says sex is dirty. And we have the warnings from a very young age as a girl: be careful or you'll get used. All of that creates an undercurrent of mistrust. So when you reach for her, she may not be responding to you. She might be bracing against everything she's lived through before you. When I first started having sex, I truly believed that if a man wanted me physically, it meant he loved me. It meant he wanted to be with me. I refused to believe the cultural norms, the social norms that said men just want sex for release and they're just going to use you. I truly believed with all my heart that sex meant love. So I gave my whole heart in every experience and every time. And what happened most times? I got ghosted, lied to, or realized he never wanted to be in a relationship with me at all from the beginning. Every time that happened, my heart broke a little more. And eventually, I became jaded and I started to tell myself that men do just use us. They don't ever feel closeness during sex, and they just want our bodies for a release. And no man ever tried to convince me otherwise, because most men don't know how to put into words what sex really means to them. But years later, when I started studying men, really truly listening to them, researching, asking questions, that's when I discovered something that changed everything for me. Because here's what I found out. Yes, a man can have sex outside of a relationship without his heart being involved. It can be just a physical release. But most often, with a woman he truly loves, sex is completely different. Sex becomes the way he feels most loved through his body. And sex becomes the way he expresses his love to her without words. And science even backs this up. During sex, when someone he loves, a man's brain releases oxytocin, the exact same bonding hormone we always talk about with women. Oxytocin is about trust, closeness, and attachment. And here's what's wild. When I started posting about this on TikTok and Instagram, when I began saying out loud that sex for a man in a relationship is more about love, bonding, and closeness, so many men wrote into me and said, damn, you just put into words what I've never been able to say, but I have always felt. And that was my confirmation. It wasn't just theory. Men knew this truth deep down, but they didn't have the language for it. And when I finally understood that, that's when my entire perspective shifted. I realized sex doesn't just have one meaning, it carries many. But what we as women often overlook is that sex can and does mean deep connection and love to a man if we choose to see beyond the conditioning, the beliefs, and the wounds. And let me clarify something here. Because for most of you listening, most of you are in a committed relationship or married. And when you make love to your wife or your partner, even if it's playful, passionate, maybe it includes a little BDSM exploration, sex gives you a deep sense of connection. It bonds you to her, it builds trust. It's how you say, I love you without words. And here's something I've learned over years of research, education, and coaching. For men and women, sex takes on so many different meanings. And most of us were never given the knowledge or the language to have real conversations about this. So, what do? We assume. We assume our partner wants what we want. We assume sex means the same thing to them as it does to us. But the truth is, people go to sex for very different reasons: to give or to receive love, to feel safe, to escape, to build trust, to chase excitement, to experience pleasure, and sometimes even a little danger. And unless we actually communicate about what we want out of the experience, no one leaves fulfilled. If one person does leave fulfilled, the other is often left hurt or disappointed. And if you're single out having sex, I know it's especially hard for you to talk about this topic because most people don't want to risk losing that sexual opportunity. But this is exactly why honesty in these conversations becomes so important. Because when we actually talk about what we want, when we're upfront about our intentions, both people get to choose. And that means both people have the chance to leave that experience feeling physically and emotionally fulfilled instead of one person feeling satisfied and the other disappointed. Because what jades women is when the words and the actions don't line up. When sex is presented as love, but it was never meant to be that. That's how so many women end up feeling used, tricked, discarded, and carry these old wounds. So, yes, honesty matters in a marriage, but it also matters just as much when you're single because it's the only way we collectively start healing this bigger cultural wound. And here's the wild thing: men already believe this, even if they don't talk about it. I can't tell you how many men write to me or sit across from me in a coaching session and say, hey, listen, I don't want my wife to feel used for sex. That's never my intention. I don't want her to feel that way. And if you've ever said that, it's most likely because deep down, you're carrying a little guilt or shame. And maybe you've contributed to this dynamic without even meaning to. Yet, this is something we can change together because nobody should feel used and nobody should feel tricked. Sex should always be honest, open, and consensual. We should feel chosen, not manipulated. And when we collectively all start leading with that kind of honesty, it doesn't just fix relationships and marriages, it changes culture. It rewrites the story between men and women. The one thing I've learned after all of my years of working with men, studying sex, intimacy, and relationships is this: the problem isn't the couples aren't having sex. The real problem is how we communicate about sex when it feels like a problem. That's the conversation that usually goes sideways. it turns into things like blame, silence, sometimes even shutdowns. And that's what kills that connection, respect, and desire we really want. And that's why I created the sexual communication compass to give men a map for these conversations instead of guessing. On the compass, north is clarity. It's getting clear on your desires, needs, and wants. South is curiosity. It's gaining a deeper understanding of her desires, needs, and wants. East is emotional safety, where we create a safe space to express those desires, needs, and wants so everyone feels heard and seen. And West, it's evolution, a commitment to evolve and grow, even if things don't work right the first time. Most couples only talk about sex when it's already become a fight or it's non existent. But when you use the compass, those conversations stop tearing you apart and they start pulling you closer. And if you want me to coach you through the compass in real time and not just talk about it here, you can check out my AI support coach, WWTS, What Would Teresa Say? It's like having me in your pocket 24/7 whenever you need it most. And for couples who are ready to go even deeper, I'm hosting a live workshop soon where I'll walk you through how to create that emotional safety, enjoy better sex, and build the kind of closeness most couples never experience. And you can get on the wait list now. I'll drop the link here in the show notes. Because the truth is, sex isn't the problem. The way we communicate about it is, and that's something you could start changing today.
If this stirred something in you, share it, re-listen, let it land. And if you're ready to go deeper, you'll find everything at therespectedman.com. Coaching, courses, and now, What Would Teresa Say? Your private AI coach for men. Remember, you don't have to shrink to be loved. You don't have to go numb to stay. Stay open, stay honest, and I'll catch you next time on Love Without Lies.